Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter, let's get at her. It is another episode of the Manely Broncos Podcast. And in this particular episode, it is the very first mock draft of the season. And it seems fitting because with it being the draft season, we have a member of one of the better podcasts, Bronco podcasts, that is out there on the market today. And of course, he is a very household name, that being Carter Dillon, right there of Let's Talk Broncos. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, Carter, man. This is actually your first Manely Broncos appearance. We've seen you stalk our comments every once in a while, but we figure, we might as well, have you on and have you had the opportunity to talk some ball with the Manely Broncos crew. So how you doing, man?
I'm good. I enjoy talking ball. Yeah, I come in and give you crap about Nebraska every once in a while.
If you
deserve it.
I will pull out my jersey if you want, and we can.
I'm shocked.
Doesn't bother me.
A Nebraska hat with like a big X through it and Kim's face on it.
I mean, you should have seen it last night. When I was on Sports Nonsense and Whiskey, I was actually rocking a Nebraska jersey with the Nebraska hat. So,
Mike, this is me having to do this while I'm on vacation from my phone. So this will be fun.
Where are you, Brandon? Just like specifically?
Well, I just got back I was in California, but now I'm in Arizona.
Is it? I'm guessing it's much warmer than it is here.
Yeah, that would be a good guess.
Yeah. And Matty down there in the bottom left, tied for first place. With that, that stupid Oklahoma City Thunder. How are you doing down there?
Is that a tattoo?
Have you not seen it before?
No.
Yep. There she goes. Isn't she pretty?
No, not pretty at all. Horrible. Terrible.
So gorgeous.
Yeah, where's your Nebraska tattoo?
It's on his lower back. That's not suitable for work. Okay. So I'm doing pretty good. Got a little bourbon. Get to talk a little ball with the boys. It's a good Wednesday.
It's an exciting time, man. I mean, when me and Carter were kind of having this talk about possibly what to talk about, we're kind of going through a lot of the different scenarios too. And then I think the more things were kind of unfolding, and I realized that it's the actual NFL Combine that's beginning on Thursday. Kind of snuck up on everybody, including me. It actually snuck up on me, the fact that the Combine actually begins tomorrow. I kind of figured, in talking to you guys and everything, let's talk about that NFL Combine. Let's take a little bit of a deep dive in some of the prospects that maybe we are certainly going to be looking forward to seeing. And because of it being an NFL Combine week, might as well talk about a certain mock draft and do a mock draft 1.0 with none other than Carter in the house. So let's kind of take a little bit of a deep dive in the Combine right now, and not necessarily dive into the positions just yet. But what is some of the drills for you guys? And we'll start with you, Carter, since you're our guest. But what are some of the drills that you guys look forward to the most when it comes to that Underwear Bowl in Indianapolis?
I love watching the 40. I think that's just the funnest part of it, and then you got to see Rich Eisen run it.
Yeah,
but that's my favorite drill to watch. I mean, it may not be the most important drill, and then watching O lineman, D lineman bench press, it's fun too.
Nice. Matty, what about you?
I mean, yeah, that's awesome. I also like the bench press. Just being able to see all those reps, see the wide receivers not be able to do any reps, and then you've got the offensive linemen and defensive linemen just crushing it. I'm really I'm getting ahead of the curve, but I want to see Sweat. I want to see what he does specifically on the bench, because he's a monster of a man.
You actually want to see people sweat? I
want to see that man named Sweat.
Oh,
yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Which is weird because he's a Texas Longhorn. I get it, but that dude is just freaking. He's a monster.
What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, put me down in the bench press camp, and that's partially just because of my obsession with the exercise in general. But if they had like a squat competition, which they should, I would be so in for that, especially at the running back spot. Like, I feel like that actually would be a useful measurement.
Yeah, that I feel like even some fullbacks too have been a part of that, and that for the bench press for them, it's almost like a cakewalk for some of them, even for some offensive linemen for that
I mean, I
bench
think
press.
it's useful for any position. Like, it has some kind
Utility.
of value, but I think for specific positions, like finding out their like pure leg power would be interesting. And that's partially just me being a gym freak and wanting to watch people squat, which is, you could say, creepy.
What about you guys? That's in the chat. Looks like we got Respect My Co's in the chat. We have Big Mike as usual. We have Solstice Fly in the chat. Biggie Bronco in the chat as well. And some this is the Matt Canada burner over here. But no, yeah. What I'd be curious for the people that are in the chat, what is maybe your guys' favorite exercise that you guys may be looking forward to in the combine? And I think for me, since you guys were talking about the bench press, possibly even the 40, for me, I kind of like to see the vertical too. Like I also like to see the vertical jump to see just how necessarily maybe freaky of an athlete they are in the sense of maybe, or how much of an ease it is for them to jump 40-inch verticals, Oh man, I think that one kind of is pretty impressive. The broad jump too, I think, is another one. So yeah, there's a few of them out there for sure. Big Mike says the 40s with the big man running.
40s.
Yeah, the big man running the 40s. Gotta love those offensive tackles, running, or those interior offensive linemen running like a 5.3, right, or a 5.34 40.
I mean, that's faster than last year's Rich Eisen 40, which was like 6 seconds. So come on, Rich.
It's probably faster than me though.
But the thing that is interesting to me about like the combine in general is, I mean, you can kind of I feel like there's a valid argument to be made for how much of it actually matters. Like specific, like certain positions, I feel like more than others, there's things that would make sense, like offensive linemen and bench pressing for obvious reasons, like wide receivers and their vertical. But as much as you can kind of say that none of this matters, watching some of the absolute just freaks of nature and remembering that they're somehow a human being is kind of insane to witness. And then it makes it make more sense when you're able to see what they actually do on the football field. Like if I see an offensive lineman go out there and rep 30 reps on the bench press and then they pancake someone, I'm like, oh, that translates. But it's kind of insane to see how freaky some of these people are as obviously professional athletes, but are soon to be.
What about and Carter, what about an exercise that maybe turns you off a little bit, maybe that you feel like is maybe
overrated and
maybe just overhyped, overrated,
tool.
You probably alluded to it earlier with the 40, but what's
that one, and when the receivers run across the field sideways and are turning and then turning and then turning, and you see him just taking them off the head sometimes, and that one never really made much sense to me. But
yeah, Matty, you're muted, Matty. Yeah,
it's really hard for some of these when the quarterbacks go to throw and stuff.
Yeah,
honestly, I kind of dig the pro days more than the combine stuff, to be honest. Because then you get to kind of see some of the other guys that maybe you wouldn't have had a chance to see, some of the up and coming guys too. So like, I kind of just consider it all just whatever. I mean, I'm gonna overreact to everything if one of my guys like just lights it up and say somebody hits 50 reps on the bench press. I'm gonna go bananas and say like, take him at 12, right? But like overall, it's more of an intel gathering mission for what the rest of the league is doing than anything.
Brandon?
In terms of like which one I think is the most useless.
Yeah.
I have to kind of agree with anything about quarterbacks throwing in shorts. Like, come on, there's no pressure. There's no like actual offense, like semblance of an offense that they're like running. It's pretty much just who has the strongest arm, which, don't get me wrong, can be entertaining. And like when they had that competition at the Pro Bowl, which they should bring back, they should bring that back in the Pro Bowl and get rid of it at the Combine, because the Combine, I don't really think it does anything. I mean, yeah, it's useful probably for like coaches or GMs that hadn't seen these people throw in person to kind of just like see the physical skill set of it. But if they haven't seen that player throw in person yet at this point, there's a reason, and they probably have no interest in it anyway. Like, I don't think it actually does anything, but I mean, you kind of have to keep it there for casual viewers of the Combine. They're like, oh, well, what about the most important position? But I don't think it actually does anything. Now, the quarterbacks that like obviously that go to that you're able to meet, set up meetings with as a team, like that is obviously, in my opinion, way more important. And obviously, there's also kind of been that not too shocking report that like obviously we're gonna be meeting with JJ McCarthy. I think there's like a linebacker that I saw that we're also meeting with. To me, it's the meetings, like who we choose to actually meet and set up a one-on-one with, that's more interesting to me than like, especially the quarterback position, than just throwing the ball to air.
Yeah. What? And I mean, in terms of the NFL Combine, it's almost like just another little bit more detailed version of like the general manager meetings, right? Like the general manager owner meetings, because like there's a lot that happens, like, you know, specifically with the NFL Combine, and the thing is like whether it's not even draft related, you have an idea to, you know, possibly get a sense of maybe where the Broncos are leaning in free agency, where the Broncos are possibly leaning into the draft, what could possibly happen rumors wise, just overall, right? You know, with the team, you know,
well, but also like having the ability to like meet with an actual player, though. That's like more what I meant, is the player meetings. Like sit down with the guy, actually get to know him on a personal level, see what he's like, what kind of leader he is, what kind of teammate he is. To me, is I think more. That's the most important thing that to me from this event. Obviously, like again, the different positions have different athletic metrics that are valuable to know, but being able to like actually sit down with a guy one-on-one and like learn more about him as a player is, in my opinion, the most important piece. But that might just be me.
And to see their medicals too. That's also really important.
Medical's the big one. Speaking of, that's going to be, I don't know if because like there was everything that kind of came out with the people that are going, specifically the quarterbacks that are going to the Combine, and like who is and isn't throwing. Is there actually are they able to not have medicals? Is that something that they're able to like choose to not have done at the Combine? I actually don't know this.
Unless they have their medicals taken at the Combine and then you get results maybe, you know, either a few days after or you get the results after or something. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't know if it's any different in the NFL, but in the NBA, certain prospects can prevent certain teams from seeing their medicals, from releasing.
I'm actually curious
them, and I don't know if that is the same in the NFL.
Yeah.
The one guy, obviously, that and Matty, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I think everyone is interested to see if you're able to get their hands on his medicals. Is obviously Michael Penix.
Right.
That's the other big one to me, is whether or not he throws. Like, we all know the talent that he has, but being able to kind of get a view on his injury risk, especially like from a team standpoint. If a team's interested in taking him, I mean, that could shoot him up draft boards, or he could be undraftable.
One of the things, I mean, Brandon, you touched on it early, but it's at least fair to have the conversation before we even, take this dive a little bit into the combine more. But, obviously the quarterback drives a lot of the conversation with it being the NFL combine, but particularly this year, like this is a very popular quarterback class, possibly even a deep quarterback class. And you're talking about, in this case, 3 quarterbacks choosing not to throw in the NFL Combine. And, and again, we'll start with you, Carter, but I feel like there are some pros and there are some cons to it, right? There's some pros to the fact of, you not throwing the ball. Like, for instance, like if you have injury history and you're coming off of a significant injury, you don't want to risk it. And you want to make sure that, are clearing the medicals, if you will, but you want to make sure that you're also doing all the other stuff to still impress the coaches. But if you're also, if you're also say maybe a lock for a top 5 pick, you don't necessarily want to jeopardize that by any means. And to be honest with you, I would feel like not throwing at the combine, in particular the three players that aren't, which would be Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May, would seem to me like those 3 are kind of locks for the top 8.
Yeah, for Caleb Williams, it makes complete sense, right? He has nothing to gain, but to lose, he does have. And the other 2, it's really, are you happy where you're at right now? You got people advising them, telling them not to throw. I'm sure there's some people telling them to throw. Yeah, it doesn't really matter to me. It's not like them not throwing is going to drop them that far. It's probably not going to drop them at all. It's just not going to rise them either. But that's up to them. I don't have no problem with it.
I think from what I've seen, I don't really know if it even hurts them that much choosing not to throw. Like, again, I think it's one of those pointless exercises, but I think it's like a comfort level, because most of the time people that don't throw at the combine choose to still do like the full workout at their pro day. And maybe it's just like being in the environment of an area that they know and being able to like throw to people that they know and trust. They maybe feel more comfortable doing that than like some random guy that they have no chemistry with.
Matty?
Man, it's those quarterback pro days that can get you in trouble. I remember there was this tall guy with a rocket arm throwing in swirling wind in Memphis that ended up securing himself a spot in Broncos country lore and ended up just devastating us for years to come.
Yeah, throwing against air. That's why. But that's why I hate that workout.
The air was swirling.
Oh,
the air was swirling there, but honestly, there isn't any type of performance that
because he can throw against wind. Sorry, go ahead. What?
There's no performance that a quarterback can have in that in Indianapolis, in that dome, that's going to skyrocket them. Because they're going to go to film and be like, okay, what does that look like though? Can you make that throw with a defensive tackle right in your face? Or can you do that off platform? Or can you do that in a high pressure situation? Can you put the ball in the exact right spot? You're not throwing against defensive backs and stuff either, really. So like, what are we doing here?
What they should do
with some of that.
They should have Aaron Donald participate in this, and they have to make that throw while Aaron Donald runs at them.
Or the guy from Happy Gilmore, who is chasing after Shooter McGavin at the end of it.
Oh my god, yeah, that'd be.
And you could count on me waiting for you in the parking lot.
Yeah,
maybe have that guy just chasing after him. I would probably be inaccurate.
As we're talking, in terms of like all the different quarterbacks that go through the different scenarios of not throwing, Jordan Travis is another one. As he's recovering from his leg injury, right? That scary leg injury that he had at Florida State. But you're probably that's a case where, he honestly has to throw at the pro day, right? He would almost have to throw at the pro day, depending on, certainly with where he's at. But yeah, so you're going to get to the point where there's just players that, given with where their medicals are and their health are, they just can't. They just can't throw just yet, or they've not been medically cleared to throw yet. So, all right, let's take a deep dive a little bit. Yeah, go ahead, Matty.
Just have a fun question real quick. What's a drill that you would like to see at the combine? And it could be
You're saying
like that doesn't currently exist.
Yeah. So mine is 40-yard dash, chug a 40, and a 40-yard dash back.
Oh god.
I mean, you'll find the next Bakhtiari. I mean, I'm just saying, so
that's fair.
Like
that. I mean, yeah, that's true. I'm gonna throw some more weight behind this. Make Aaron Donald make that throw while Aaron Donald has to run at them. I'm not even saying that he has to hit them. And even if they know he's not going to hit them, tell me that seeing Aaron Donald running at you full speed while trying to make that throw isn't going to make it more challenging. But that's going to be what you're going to deal with. I mean, obviously it's not always Aaron Donald, but that's what I want to see.
What about you, Carter?
Give me a drill where all quarterbacks have to run opposite side and sidearm it 60 yards down the field like Mahomes, just to see if we can find our next Mahomes.
The Mahomes drill.
The Mahomes drill.
And Mahomes grades them all afterwards too.
You know who could probably make that throw though? Paxton Lynch.
Oh my.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Drew Lock. He shall not be named.
Aside from being funny and saying for the offensive lineman having like a hot dog eating contest,
Wait, hold on, you're on something there.
What?
Why is that not a thing?
What, having like offensive linemen at the combine doing like a hot dog eating contest?
Yeah,
or
why is that not a thing?
Or like how many offensive linemen can devour a tomahawk steak in X amount of minutes?
They should have a sumo ring for offensive linemen.
Have it sponsored by Nathan's, the Indy Glizzy competition. It's awesome.
Tug of war bracket.
Right.
A tug of war. Ooh, that's a good one.
I feel like there would be at least some benefit. I know they do it sometimes with college, like as a team building exercise almost, right? Because I know that some college football programs do the tug of war. I will say I think doing some sort of like accuracy drill. I know that they somewhat do that at the Pro Bowl, but I feel like maybe like an accuracy drill for the quarterbacks would be maybe beneficial. Just to truly kind of see how accurate they are. And it's funny. I think that for it's kind of crazy sometimes, like when you do play Madden, like the drills that you do run through on a weekly basis, possibly like to train your players. I feel like some of the stuff they could do, there would maybe be beneficial. Like possibly like the Oklahoma drill, right? Not in the sense of like actually hitting the guy, but just or actually taking him to the ground, because obviously injuries. But so I think that would be kind of nice. So yeah, I think that there's certainly some things that they probably could add.
If you're gonna have the quarterback throw against air, why not add in some moving targets like that? That makes perfect sense to me. I would rather watch that than the way it is now.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, they obviously do somewhat of it, if you will, like in the Pro Bowl. But I feel like for like maybe a combine, that's at least proven that okay, we actually have some accuracy, that we can, do versus like some routes, if you will, that wide receivers are running, and not saying that's not.
And I know like they kind of do that, but again, there's no pressure, there's no structure. It's just you're literally in the backyard throwing the football. Like, what is that going to tell you?
Yeah. I see Joey Richards in the chat, by the way, with give him a shout out as he chimes in. He says Carter is the GOAT, by the way. Some LTB love over here.
Joey's the GOAT.
If Joey is still in, by the way, I'm curious what his what he would either add, to the combine? Anybody that's in the chat, actually, like, what would you guys add, to the combine? I see Big Mike chiming in. He says, I want to see linemen running routes because some coaches would love to draft a lineman that can run a one flat in the red zone. And actually, it would be beneficial.
Don't give Andy Reid ideas, man.
Well, I was going to say Dan Campbell, but he's got to be an eligible receiver, though.
Too soon.
So yeah, what do people in the comments think? Like what they would add, and we'll go ahead and we'll air it on the stream. But yeah, let's do a dive into some of the combine, and some of the combine prospects. What does Joey say?
I knew Joey was going to say that.
Fitz Joseph wants to see
tackles and coverage. Oh god.
What is it? Big E says a breakdance.
Best sack celebration.
Ooh, that's a good one.
All right. So actually, as I said, we'll kind of do a little bit of a dive on some of these some of the prospects, not all of them, but some of these prospects. Let's start first with what it's going to be as far as what they'll start with first, which would be the trenches. It's going to end up or the parts of the front seven, if you will, the defensive line and linebacker. So who is someone specifically necessarily from the defensive line that is kind of catching your eye, Carter?
I like Mason Smith from LSU. He's big. Going with the CU recruiting this offseason, CU was so small last year. They kept just saying, get guys that like are the first dudes off the bus. And that's what Mason Smith is. He dealt with a lot of injuries, so we didn't really see a ton of him, but he's a beast in the middle.
6'6", 315, right? 6'6", 315.
Yep.
Yeah, he's rather built. So what about you, Matty? What are some ones that you mentioned? You actually
going to say Devondre Sweat, and I'm going to
say that he teased that one earlier, so I feel like he's going to be going that route.
Yeah, I won't hit you with a verse. I'll stick with Sweat. So I'm gonna bring up his measurables here. It's just ridiculous. I don't know how he would fit. He probably doesn't fit into much, honestly. He's that big. Yeah, 6'4", 362. Like, if you need somebody to kind of eat up some real estate in the middle of the offensive line, like, he's a dude that can do that. And oh, by the way, in the Big 12 championship game, Texas had so much fun, they threw him the football. So it's just, like, it's fun. That would be a fun pick. Obviously not at 12, right?
No,
but if we move into the second round to get him, I wouldn't be upset.
Did you? There was something I didn't necessarily see with the context, but the funniest thing was I saw it, like, someone said something to Sweat today, and it was like he was a really shocked reaction, if you will. And I don't necessarily know the context of it, but it was a really funny reaction.
It was he said, "This is the face you guys are gonna make when you watch me run the 40."
Oh, that's
he made that face. Yeah.
That's right. That, speaking of a guy, if he gets under 5, the internet is actually going to break.
Hold on. Sweat doesn't want to weigh in at this. He didn't weigh in at the Senior Bowl. Is that what it is?
No, he didn't.
That's kind of weird.
We'll
see what he does at the combine. But no, one of the guys, speaking of actually the Senior Bowl, who I feel like I kind of saw him or saw a lot of people mention him, is Texas A&M defensive lineman McKinley Jackson. He's not like absolutely massive. I think he's like 6'2", 330 or something. He's not that big, but he has like some vines. His arms are like stupid long, and he just knows how to use them. Like he is not a guy that's gonna like completely just destroy you like Devondre Sweatwell, but he can like use his. He has enough size that he can kind of bully you a little bit and keep you away from him and get you out of the way because his arms are so long. He doesn't have to like actually have the strength to just knock you over. He can just kind of like move you.
Yeah. One of the other ones, of course, would be a player that might actually be in conversation with the 12th overall pick, possibly for the Broncos, and he's a guy that is and he's, should I say, maybe the guy that's right next to T'Vondre Sweat with the Longhorns, and that would be Byron Murphy. No relation to of course, the other Byron Murphy that that cornerback that's in the NFL. In fact, was it former Washington Huskies corner, right? Byron Murphy. No, he's 6'1", he's 308, he's a violent defensive lineman. I feel like, he obviously has a little bit more versatility to his game. You can, probably play him maybe at the end, if you will, and probably on the inside. Like, he's obviously got a lot of versatility to him. Reading up on him a little bit, it looks like, his short arms are a little bit of an issue, so I'm really curious to see what it is that, he'll be able to, perform with that combine. But he really seems like he's trending in a direction where if the Broncos do have that 12th overall pick, maybe the Broncos may fall into that, where if they don't want to go quarterback, if they don't want to go possibly wide receiver, or even should I say the Brock Bowers of the world, the tight end, that Byron Murphy would be it seems like might be an option. Joey mentions, I want to say it's the guy from Ohio State.
It is, yep.
Michael Hall.
Yeah, he's good. I like him. I like Dwayne Carter, Dwayne Carter from Duke.
He's kind of slept on now, isn't he? Like, it feels like he's kind of getting slept on a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of guys, a bunch of D linemen. Mekhi Wingo from LSU too. There's a ton of guys, but yeah, Michael Hall tore it up at the Senior Bowl.
I also want to say that there is a guy from Clemson, Rook or Horo, right?
Oh, row.
Yeah, row your boat. Yeah, the Clemson guy, another guy, like just a freaky player, and so I'm curious about him too. I like the fact that this is a side note, but I like the fact that underclassmen can now participate in the combine now, versus kind of like in the past, or so what about linebacker? What about linebacker? What are some linebackers that are kind of catching your eye?
I wasn't really looking much into linebacker, and then I found out Drew Sanders is not a linebacker anymore. So I saw they did an interview with Trevin Wallace from Kentucky at the combine. So I started looking at some of his stuff. I mean, he's just a linebacker. He wraps up well. He's gonna test really, really good tomorrow, I think. But yeah, I didn't really look into many linebackers, but that is a big need now because I don't see them re-signing Josie and Drew is now at edge.
And will they go in free agency for it?
What did you guys think about that?
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I don't get it. Didn't he play like 4 snaps at edge last year? Like, I don't. It was.
I think it was a bit more, but
he didn't look good.
Yeah. Yeah. You were gonna say something, Matty.
Oh, I'm just so disappointed because, like, seeing him from Alabama and then he goes to Arkansas and he kind of just like is all over the field. Like, why wouldn't you just want to put him in the middle and just let him go hunt? I mean, that guy's instincts and his speed and he can just tackle with violence. He's a fun player that I think we're hamstringing. What is that? Justin Hollins vibes a little bit, like just kind of like a guy that's an athlete that can be a baller, but we move him around and put him in spots to not succeed. Like
it's the Vance Joseph Isaiah Simmons situation.
Oh my gosh, so frustrated.
It's not even just that either.
There's always the Isaiah Simmons.
It's not even just Isaiah Simmons though. Like it's Isaiah Simmons. It's Zaven Collins.
Oh my God, Zaven Collins! I forgot about Zaven Collins.
Yeah. So
is there a linebacker with a better name than Steel Chambers though? Like if there's anybody built to go beat the shotgun, it's him. So like I can't get over how awesome that name is. It's almost as good as like Bumper Pool.
Yeah. Or who was the prospect? It's not a linebacker, but like who was the position? Was it last year or 2 years ago? Smoke Monday.
Yeah, is the DB from Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolute monster. Perfect name. Just
I think that obviously
first-time player name only.
Obviously, it's not a Smoke Monday. It's not a Steel Chambers. But it certainly is one that if you have a Broncos related name and maybe one of the better linebackers in the class, Peyton Wilson, and talking about testing well, it seems like he's going to be one of those guys that could be in that conversation, maybe as a Broncos draft pick, maybe in that second round, or maybe if he's a little bit more of a freaky athlete. Sometimes those guys have a tendency to slide a little bit into the first round. So, I mean, Peyton Wilson would certainly be another one of those guys that if he tests really, really well, right, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of jumps up the boards just a little bit more. Yeah, so Peyton Wilson necessarily is another one. Let's jump a little bit now to Friday, which would be the defensive backs and the tight end room. You had said, Carter, you said that the tight end room was a bit interesting, right? It was a bit interesting. Why do you say that? Like, why do you say that tight end room was a bit interesting?
There's tiers to the tight end group. There is Bowers, there's Sanders, and then there's everybody else. Like, I think there's some good talent you can find day 3. Let me pull up a list of the tight ends here real quick. I like Dallin Holker from Colorado State. He destroyed Colorado this year. Theo Johnson from Penn State. I like Jared Wiley from TCU, but like I don't really know where any of those guys. I think it's all just preference from GM after that. But Bowers is obviously your number 1 guy, and I think Sanders is easily the number 2 guy.
Yeah. As far as the Biggie Bronco, is Isaiah Simmons a free agent? I don't know if he is or not. I don't think he's a free agent, but we would have to check. So I guess
he was traded to the Giants, right?
Yeah, he was. I want to say yes. Well, I guess I want to say yes then, because typically you see it on a, they usually trade a player like on the last end of his deal.
I think he is a free agent.
Yeah. So the thing with Bowers,
they didn't sign him yet. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, the thing with Bowers for me is I just don't know if he's a tight end. Like, that's the thing. It's like he's such a freaky player, and frankly, he's one of those players for me that is, and Joey asked, like, would you draft a tight end for 12? He's really the only one that I would actually draft at 12. But even then, like, for me, it's like the reason why I would tip it a little bit more for it be, at 12 is because I don't really consider him to be a tight end. Like, he's a positionless player, which to me has a little bit more value in the sense of maybe not necessarily a tight end, right? Like the TJ Hawkinsons or possibly like the Noel Fants or the, some of those other players that like went maybe a little bit early, right? So I just think that because of his versatility and positionless, ability, I feel like just gives him a little bit more credence and stuff to possibly take him at 12.
He's a solid blocker. I mean, he can block.
Yeah.
As good as he is receiving, he's a solid blocker too. So I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to taking him at 12. Joey said he'll take him. I don't know. I just think there's bigger holes to fill. As much of a stud as he is.
Matty and Brandon, what say you about Brock Bowers? Is he in the non-quarterback position that you could possibly consider taking at 12?
I wouldn't take him at 12 personally. I think he's a fantastic tight end, and like I wouldn't be mad if he was there at 12 and he was the pick. The main reason I wouldn't take him at 12 is I think we have a bigger need at edge, that there could be a guy there that I would probably want to take instead, just at that position. Like I'd rather take an edge over a tight end. Or offensive tackle. Like, this is a really good tackle class, but if you have a chance to get one of the top guys, you don't know what's going to happen with Derek Bowles, obviously. It's probably, unfortunately, looking like it. If I had to like guess right now, that he's probably not going to be returning, and that makes left tackle a huge need. I mean, again, I wouldn't be mad if we took Bowers. He's a fantastic tight end. I just don't know about taking a tight end at 12. Like, I don't want to be that guy who's just like all about, oh, well, it's just the position. But it just feels like somewhat of a luxury pick. He's so good that I wouldn't be mad at it. But I just think that there's other positions I'd rather use that premium on.
Matty?
I'm kind of on the fence here. So if you have other things in place, a guy like him can take your offense from good to great. He could be a good security blanket for any quarterback in that system, just like he was at Georgia. Just look at his Auburn game when it mattered. It's like you knew on 3rd down and 8 where it was going, and they still couldn't stop him. He's a fantastic player that can do all things in the passing game. That being said, you're right. Like, Bowles may be out the door. We don't know if we're going to trade Surtain for a ransom. Is Simmons going to be back? Like, we have a lot of things to do contract-wise in order to get healthy and get right and get balanced. And I also don't know what free agency is going to look like, right? Like, we can have this conversation now, but maybe Mayfield doesn't figure it out in Tampa, and we find some way somehow to bring him in. Or Kirk Cousins, maybe Jefferson doesn't get his deal, and they don't want to give Cousins that 3rd guaranteed year, whatever. And Cousins takes his newly manufactured grill and comes to Mile High. Like, I don't know. That's a tough question to say now. If we had quarterback figured out, like if Russell Wilson was our guy moving forward and we had confidence in him, then heck yeah, give me Bowers. But we don't have that settled yet.
The one thing I would say, then, this is like, again, I wouldn't be mad if we took him. First of all, obviously tight end is one of those positions that kind of like, there's a bit of a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that it feels like all the positions that we've said that for has kind of been, that doesn't really exist anymore. Like, rookies are coming in and just absolutely destroying at most positions, although tight end still does seem to kind of be that one where it's like there's just a little bit there. And if we're not sold on a quarterback this year and we're doing our homework, like we're meeting with any and all of them, I think having, non-rookie Brock Bowers next year, which if we have to go with a rookie quarterback, I don't know if you can find a better best friend to have ready for your rookie quarterback than Brock Bowers in your system for over a year.
So you're saying that, obviously rookie maybe next year, but what about second year Spencer Rattler or Pratt throwing to second year Bowers next year? Maybe something like that's in the calculus.
I mean, Yeah.
What one
I still
other
probably wouldn't take him.
one other position, or sorry, not position, one other player I feel like that I'm curious about would be a guy by the name of Theo Johnson from Penn State. He's I feel like his athleticism is maybe a little bit underrated, but he's a really solid blocker. And I feel like if you're going to talk about possibly a guy that is maybe opposite of a Greg Dulcich, like it depends on like how confident you are with Dulcich, like being a positionless player, right? Because like that's the other part of the Bowers conversation. That's a subtle thing, but like if you're really, really confident in Greg Dulcich and necessarily being positionless, but just like making him necessarily as a wide receiver, which we've had that conversation before, like last year. But like Theo Johnson, like you would almost like replace, if you will, Adam Troutman with a guy like a Theo Johnson. So I'm really curious about him. He seems pretty decent and pretty solid in terms of his run blocking. And yeah, I do think he's rather slightly more consistent in the passing game. And frankly, we know also that the Big Ten tight ends, even if it's the Jake Butt curse, but the Big Ten tight ends are a little bit more well-rounded in the sense of like coming into the NFL because of like the conference and the stuff that they play with as far as, physicality and everything that it requires of them. So I think Theo Johnson would be a little bit of a fun one.
Yeah, he's a good blocker. I'm all for blocking tight ends, especially in this offense. But I mean, I don't really. There's a handful of guys you could take there, but Theo's big. He's big.
He's 6'6", 250 something.
50 something. Yeah.
What about Cade Stover out of Ohio State?
Another Big Ten guy.
Sticking with Big Ten. 6'4", 251. So doesn't have the extra 2 inches, but and obviously like I don't know what like his wingspan is and all that stuff with like catch range and whatnot, but he's projected to test pretty well. That same basketball history. If you want to stick with like that Antonio Gates, Jeremy Shockey-ish background, that could be fun, and he could be a day 3 guy. So or early day 3 or late day 2 potentially, like depending. So what would really be weird is to see JJ McCarthy throwing to him, but that would be that's also a timeline.
Yeah, I think he goes late day 2. He's one of the better ones in that group, but he's in that third tier for me still.
But I feel like the tight end class, and Brandon, you can chime in too. I feel like the tight end class, I can probably see one of those cases where like, there's a wide range of opinions, but I can see it kind of being one where it is kind of slightly underrated in the sense like there are some guys that, could come in and, or I don't want to say deep necessarily, but just they have a tendency to get slept on, right? They have a tendency to get slept on. It's not necessarily the class from, what was it, a couple years ago or last year or something, where I think it was Tucker Kraft and was it Luke Musgrave? Oh, it looks like we have a guy coming in, wanted to argue about Brock Bowers at 12.
Oh, God.
What's up?
Yeah. My bad. I'm here. I was listening to the podcast on the other end. First shout out to Carter. Let's talk Broncos then. I have to say, for the Brock Bowers thing, I get the point where everyone wants to say the first round tight ends never worked. If you go back down the list,
I'm not saying they don't work. I'm saying there's just other positions I'd rather take. But go ahead.
Fair. I don't mean to put words in your mouth. But at the same time, if we go back and look at the first round tight ends, like Brock Bowers isn't really playing like Noah Hawkinson. You know how they like list the, like some people would be like, he's a defensive end, and it's like Akeem Hicks, and then it's also Von Miller. Like they're really not playing the same position. That's kind of how Brock Bowers is to like Noah Fant, I think. So I don't know if we have enough sample size, I guess would be my argument, to be this type of player doesn't work out. Because he really is a wide receiver, tight end type of hybrid. When you go back down and look at all the guys drafted in the first round, these guys are straight up tight ends. We got like Hawkinson, we got all this other stuff going on. I don't know if Brock Bowers fits the bill there.
Does the Kyle Pitts experience kind of dampen that a little bit? Because some people thought he was kind of
but he wasn't as good of a blocker, though, I don't think.
No,
but also at the same time, like I think we forget that Kyle Pitts had 1,000 yards his rookie year before like having multiple surgeries.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Like one of the worst quarterback situations.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Absolutely. He had 1,000 yards his rookie year and hasn't been the same since. He's like out there limping. Like if you guys go and watch Kyle Pitts film, the guy doesn't look the same any longer. Like he's not running like 4.4s like he was at Florida. He's not that same player.
All right, let me ask you this. We're sitting there at 12. Your boy Brock Bowers is there, but so is Fuaga from Oregon State at tackle.
Yeah.
Which one are you taking?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough decisions, Brandon. You're putting me in a pickle right there, you know? It's tough decisions, man.
Who are you taking?
Okay, I'm probably going Fuaga, but I don't even know if Fuaga is going to be there when the Broncos pick. If I'm being honest.
I'm going with the guy that I like. That of the tackles, like he's the one that I would think would probably be most likely to be there.
Yeah, I think so too. But also at the same time, it's like the more you hear about him, like I have him. Me personally, I would have him in the
He could go higher.
Yeah, I would almost put him in the same tier as like Joe Alt and Olu.
Oh,
like he's in that tier for me. And I could see other teams being like, yeah, he's better than both of them. I can see that.
All right. Let's change it up here.
Reel it up.
Let's say it's Brock Bowers or Amarius Mims. I have a different answer here.
I'm not on the Mims train.
I was gonna say I'd rather have Brock Bowers than that situation.
Mims has played 8 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
Like that's just hard. I saw Olu had one bad game, and it has opened up Pandora's box on his weaknesses. You know what I mean? Yeah. He had one bad game. It was against Ohio State, and everyone's now like, can he deal with power? Is this something? He has like quadrupled the starts, Amarius Mims. If I could just pick everybody's 8 games, just a random 8 games from all my bet players, I could easily be like, oh, he has no weaknesses. And that's what I feel like what's happening with Mims. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't – he's barely been tested.
All right.
He's an eagle. He's an eagle.
I don't mind that. See, Carter's onto something with that one.
That's definitely an eagle pick.
It is because the Cowboys and Eagles are 2 teams I think of like they'll draft a tackle a year early to then start them the year after. So they'll go out there and develop him, and Mims would be perfect for that. Carter, good call.
So to kind of move a little bit from that tight end position.
Should I leave now?
It's up to you.
I don't know if I was just like making the entrance. I'll stay. I'm here.
No, we're also doing a mock draft too. So I mean, you know, you're welcome to stay.
We're doing a mock draft too. All right.
Yeah,
I'm here.
What did I have you at mock draft with? You know, you Carter, like it's you're crashing the LTB, you know, guest pod if you will. So I mean, hey, it seems fitting. Before we dive into the quarterback position, Joey, with you being at the Senior Bowl, and frankly, this is kind of a conversation once we have kind of talked about like all the different positions. But who is a player that you feel like has the most to gain
from the combine?
From being at the Senior Bowl to now being at the combine.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Spencer Rattler. You have all those top quarterbacks sitting out. Drake, May, Jaden Daniels,
Joey,
Caleb. Yeah, what's up, Carter?
He said corner.
Oh, corner. I appreciate you for telling me that. Corner. I mean, I guess Quinyon Mitchell, he's going to continue to run. I heard that he's running 4.3 at the Senior Bowl, which would be crazy. If he's running 4.3.
Wax poetic about Spencer Rattler too, if you want to.
Are you a big Spencer Rattler guy, Matty?
Boomer Sooner and Gamecocks over there. So yeah, I like him a little bit.
Damn. Okay. Nuggets are better than the Thunder. Throw that out there.
Oh, we're just taking shots
True
fired
words
now.
have been spoken. Even though the one game I went to against the Thunder, we lost. Anyway, as long as we're talking about corner, because this is what I was waiting for, because I haven't really, other than Brock Bowers, I don't really pay attention to the tight ends, to be honest. But one of my guys that I if we don't come out of this draft with this guy, I'm gonna be upset.
We can let you in, Bree. It's fine. I'll send you the link.
Oh god. Here we're bringing up is Kyrie Jackson from Oregon.
Okay.
Kyrie Jackson is, to me, a perfect. Put him out like opposite of Pat Surtain and see what happens. Guy, he's super long. I think he's like 6'3" or something just ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's played all the games in the past, I think, 2 seasons for them. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to test like super well because he's really long, but he's not like freaky athletic. I don't think he's going to like blow anyone's minds with like his 40 or his athleticism numbers. But he's like just so good with the length that he has. Like he has incredible ball skills. He's a great tackler, and I think he's just like a guy you can put on the outside. He's a perfect boundary corner. He's not like someone that you're going to put. Use really anywhere else, but with the emergence of Jaquan McMillan kind of as like the slot guy, you don't really know what's going to happen with Riley Moss. You don't really know what's going to happen with, obviously, Fabian Moreau is kind of just around. I think he's even a free agent. We'll see if we bring him back. But Kyrie Jackson's a guy to me. You can get him probably a little bit later, probably day 2, and maybe day 3, probably day 2 though, and have a guy that you can put outside with Pat Surtain, assuming you don't trade him. Pat Surtain being the guy that you don't trade, you can maybe find something there with Kyrie Jackson.
Matty, what about you? Who do you got for corner?
Like a sleeper, a guy that I tend to gravitate towards, in those mocks is Josh Newton from TCU. Now, it didn't look so great last year, but then again, nobody there really looked great at Texas Christian University. Last year, they lost some talent. They obviously regressed from their miracle run the year before. His 2022 tape was better by all accounts. I'm not a direct account by me. That's secondary reporting. I haven't dug into the film. So, Joey, if you get a chance to look at him, I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on him. But he can play inside, outside, willing tackler, physical corner, kind of fits a lot of that. He's better suited for his zone, so it depends on like what scheme we're really trying to run long term for us. But he's another guy that we could throw in, and he probably is a day 3 guy. You could probably get him, and I mean I've seen him mocked 5th, 6th round type of thing, so the capital's not significant. And it just allows one more guy with some versatility. You could do a lot worse in the 5th or 6th round.
I will say, admittedly, I thought, Matty, that you were going to dial it in a little bit with Marcellius. But I guess you didn't want to come across as too biased. I feel like it's at least fair to have the conversation of a certain corner that's also coming from the Big Ten. I know people have had the conversation about him possibly being drafted at 12, but I'm curious about Cooper DeJean. I'm curious about Cooper DeJean. No, I'm not drafting him at 12, but I know that there's been conversations about him possibly being taken at 12.
Packer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they drafted Josh Jackson, right? They were the ones who drafted Josh Jackson from Iowa, right? So it seems kind of fitting. But My pushback from a Broncos perspective is I think people forgot a little bit how good Riley Moss was before Cooper DeJean really kind of burst onto the scene at Iowa, because a lot of like what Riley Moss was doing in his last year or even the year before was kind of what Cooper DeJean had been doing with Iowa, like right after him, if you will, or just like as it was kind of crossing a little bit. I do think DeJean's a better corner, but but it's pretty clear that both are very freaky corners, right? And they're freaky athletic corners. And I think DeJean is definitely a first round corner, but I'm curious about, where he would fall in. And, do you guys see him, Joey? Do you actually see him, and even Carter, do you guys actually see him as a back end of the first round type corner?
Yeah, I think like from everything I've heard, like Nick Kendall's a good Iowa guy, right? Like he obviously
just a little bit.
He's been putting me on to Cooper DeJean since last year when the Broncos drafted Riley Moss. He was like a year too early on this type of guy because they had Cooper DeJean in the wings. Crazy athlete. I think people are trying to figure out if he's a corner or not.
Or safety. But it's
that's
kind of like a Riley Moss
like a safety.
too.
That's a completely different evaluation. Like that goes back to Brandon and I's tight end conversation. Like, are we really wanting to put a pick into safety at 15 or whatever? Like, probably not. So I think it just comes down to that. Like, what position are you evaluating him at? But then that also probably goes back to the scheme. Like, what scheme are you putting him in? Because I think he can succeed at corner in certain things, but I don't know. Like, it's really like his quick twitch stuff is where he lacks. He's extremely athletic. He jumps out the gym. He runs really fast, but can he keep up with these quick type of wide receivers? That's what everyone's trying to figure
out. It seems fitting now that we dive a little bit more into the offense now. Saturday is going to end up being the running backs, the position that we all know that is worth a first-round draft pick, a quarterback, and then wide receiver is going to be the theme for Saturday. I feel like we should save the quarterback conversation possibly for last, but who are some? Let's just start with the big one. Let's start with wide receivers, because I feel like wide receivers is one of those positions, that you could probably talk yourself into a little bit at 12 and possibly take a wide receiver from this deep class at pick 12. So who is a wide receiver that is specifically this class that you feel could really help themselves? Either that's a guy that could be like a top 20 pick right now, but has the chance to actually like become inside the top 15, if you will, for a wide receiver. So who's a wide receiver, Carter, that you feel like has a lot to gain from performing really well?
A lot to gain is, I don't know, kind of really a tough question. This guy could rise. I'm in love with Brian Thomas Jr. If the Broncos trade back into like, if they do end up trading back to like the early 20s, maybe I'm all for taking Brian Thomas Jr. there. I mean, the dude, he's a stud. He is a touchdown machine. Go up and get it with arguably one of the best, with a top 3 receiver on the other side of him too. And he's a double move killer. I don't think anyone could guard his double move. He's probably my favorite receiver in this class, to be honest.
I like that one. As a receiver to gain, I think you hit the nail on the head. That was exactly who I was going to say. Like, he's going to test out the gym, Brian Thomas. So if you're looking for, like, you have athletes that are really good at the 40, and Brian Thomas is going to be one of them because running in a straight line, he's going to go crazy. You guys remember, like, DJ Chark from LSU? Yeah. I think his numbers are going to be super comparable. And I need to pull up DJ Chark's stuff. But he was tall, ran really fast, everything like that. So I think Carter nailed it. I totally agree with him. I would say DJ Chark has the most to gain. I could see him going from that top 20 picks, and that's probably where I would agree with Carter and be like, I would rather trade back with them. But I think at the end of the day, Broncos country might want to take him at 12. You're probably going to see a fraction of Broncos country be like, I want this guy at 12 after he runs and jumps and does all that type of stuff.
What about you guys, Brandon and Matty? What about you?
I'll let Matty go first.
So, I mean, I don't have a different answer for a guy that can like elevate a stock that's already kind of a first round guy, but there are two guys that are later that I think really could show out a little bit in some of these, and especially with the interviews. Roman Wilson. I'm not a Michigan homer, but they just have a lot of players that are going to be value picks. Like, he's going to test well. He's super athletic. They say his comp is Marvin Mims, and so love that for him. And then a guy like Keon Coleman. Like, I'm one of these guys that if teams or players have had some production and they, for whatever reason, are in a bad environment and it makes things just look worse, like, that's buying low on some of these guys that were in some situations that weren't great. The Florida State situation at the end of the season wasn't great in general. And so, like, you could tend to forget about guys, but I think Keon Coleman, Roman Wilson, to an extent, like a Malachi Corley, like, some of those guys can make a name for themselves and elevate up. Maybe it's not like in the top 20 overall, but you could see them jump a whole round with where they're taken and where they're projected now. So,
Brandon?
Yeah, I don't know if he's not going to go that much of a jump from top 20 to top 10 or whatever, but a guy who I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the first round is Adonai Mitchell from Texas. Dude, just an absolute freak. Had 11 touchdowns for them last year. He kind of just gets wide open. Like, sometimes you watch his film, you're like, okay, well, that's just broken coverage, but he's actually just wrecked the guy that was trying to cover him. But then sometimes he's also like super tightly guarded and still finds a way to come down with the football. I'm actually like really excited to see it. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that that was when you guys follow Brett Coleman on YouTube, he does fantastic content, and he was making an Adonai Mitchell video that I think just actually came out, and I'm super excited to go watch that. But yeah, him for the Texans, just for Texas, is just like absolutely a freak. I think he's probably going to go round one. I don't think he's going to be like a massive riser. Like, I don't think he's going to jump up to like the top 20 even. I think he's probably going to be maybe later, back half, bottom of the round, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the first.
I don't know though. He's one of those guys that he could rise significantly, because that was the guy that I had in mind. And not to keep the theme a little bit of comparing him a little bit, should I say, to Oklahoma wide receivers, but he's got a little bit of a CeeDee Lamb to his game, and it seems like a really popular comparison for him. I really like AD Mitchell. I like his ability at the catch point. In fact, there was actually like a game where I think it was the game where he played against Alabama, where he just tortured maybe one of the top corners in this class. Was it Kool-Aid is who he was matched up on, and he tortured him like the entire game. Like he was like maybe his best game, even for Texas. So I feel like he's got a really, really high upside to possibly really rise up draft boards. So maybe not necessarily, maybe back half, but he could rise up into maybe even the top 15s, or inside the 20s, just a little bit, like as far as like the 15 to the 20.
When you're talking about Texas,
there's so many good wide receivers.
When you're talking about Texas wide receivers, keep CeeDee Lamb's name out your mouth. Boomer.
A Sooner fan would say that.
I just hope he doesn't get to Kansas City. I would cry.
Yeah.
This is how it is, man. Kansas City always on the bottom of the draft board. Like when I sit there and look at the mock drafts, it's whoever they take. I'm like, God, man, why they always have to take? Like, it doesn't matter who it is. I just don't let them get somebody fast and playing wide receiver. It's a problem in my head. I don't. Like
I was devastated when they got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I was so terrified of that.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, but it kind of did still. Yeah.
The worst one is, of course, Creed Humphrey there.
Creed Humphrey, that was.
I had to throw that one in for Matty. So as far as the running back position,
unfortunately, he's a very Chiefs pick, sadly.
So let's go to the running back position. And actually, I think you have to dip Joey, right? Thank you.
I have to go. Shout out to you guys for letting me on real quick, though. Shout out to Carter. Carter does amazing work for Let's Talk Broncos, by the way, everybody. Rising star. So thank you guys for letting me on for just a little bit. I appreciate it.
And if any of the other, LTB members, like Bree and, and Zach want to chime in or jump in, I will let them in, just like I let you. So.
All right, cool. Well, I'll talk to you guys. Thanks again.
Yeah. Peace, Joey.
Yeah.
So let's move a little bit to the running back position. It's maybe not necessarily as deep as years past, but it's solid, and it's one where if the Broncos don't necessarily go to the route of free agency, which the free agency class, admittedly, is a pretty deep free agency class. So I feel like the Broncos might dive a little bit into the running back free agency market, and we know. Given with what we know about George Payton and frankly, even Sean Payton, they kind of value the running back position just a little bit more than some teams. So what are some of the running backs that you guys are kind of keeping an eye on?
I want to see what Braylon Allen does from Wisconsin.
It's crazy.
Good. He is, what's the term? I don't know if I guess you could just say chiseled, but I'm trying to think of there's a specific term people use, but he is one of the freakiest looking human beings that I've ever seen. He's only 20. He's 245 pounds, but he runs like
he's fleet of foot. He's fleet of foot first.
It's ridiculous. If you ever go back and watch him play, he literally looks like a freight train, but he has the speed of the Flash. It's ridiculous. I don't know how to even describe it, but Braylon Allen, I feel like is just going to test crazy good, and I don't think he's going to be picked super high, but he's not going to be. I don't think he's going to jump into the first round or anything.
He could slide into day two, but
he could probably be top of day two, and he's a guy that I just again. I don't want him to go to
Kansas City,
anyone in the division, because unfortunately I could see that happening. If I don't even want to talk about it, but if the Raiders might lose their running back, he could go to the Raiders. The Chargers, you never know what's going to happen there. There was some discourse recently. Casey, I just please God no.
Well, given how
Braylon Allen is going to be. He's a freak.
Well, given how much Jim Harbaugh likes to run the football, who knows if he's got his eyes on Braylon Allen?
I mean, you never know. Freaking did you see the interview with their OC that basically they're imagine Justin Herbert with a running game?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys see that? It was was it Greg Roman?
Yeah.
Greg
Roman, but
what an interesting hire. But I want to see him with a passing game first. And that's me as a Broncos fan.
What about you, Carter?
I'm gonna give you guys a down the board guy that I like. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Isaac Guerendo from Louisville. He's a 5-year college guy. He was a converted wide receiver, but he's split the backfield his whole college career. He was at Wisconsin, so he was a teammate of Allen. And but he averages 6 yards per carry and has 22 explosive runs, so 15 plus yard runs. That's 1 out of every 6 runs. is an explosive run from him, and he's a down the board guy. But I don't really see the Broncos being huge running back players unless it's down the board.
Yeah, I feel like that's the unfortunate thing is I would not dip my toes into free agency, but I feel like given what is there in free agency, I feel like the Broncos might actually go a little bit more there versus the draft. So that's why I feel like I'm agreeing with you to that extent. Matty, what about you?
Well, the biggest wild card's Jonathan Brooks in this class, right? Coming off the ACL tear. Where does he go? Is he a day 2 guy?
Something about Texas backs.
Is he early day 2? Is he late day 2? Like, I'm very interested in that because like the production's through the roof. He could be the type of guy that could really, solidify a backfield. But just coming off the injury, like I have no idea where he's going to end up. So I'll kind of stick with some of what I know. Like Marshawn Lloyd, I guess, would be the one outside of talking about Brooks. Like some of what he flashed at South Carolina was great. Being able to get in the open field and be electric. The whole dynamics of what the Gamecocks would have looked like last year would have been different if Lloyd stayed there instead of going to the fake USC. I think that he's got potential. He has some vision problems, a little ball security here and there, but the guy he's a 3-down type of back. He can do things in the open field with the football, and like I'm not going to say like Alvin Kamara because that's not quite it, but he does flash some of that big play potential in the run and pass game that might be pretty attractive to Peyton, depending on where he ends up.
It's funny. You talk about. I was gonna say you talk about Sean Payton. One running back that I actually specifically am keeping an eye on, and obviously being on the MHRT network, it would also be at least noteworthy to mention his name. But it would be Dillon Laube from New Hampshire. He is a guy, like, if you actually have a chance to watch him, he is a fun running back. I don't want to use I'll use this comparison in how I'm going to explain it. But like, Laube, I feel like is like Darrell Henderson to a certain, or who was the Henderson the Broncos drafted? What was it? It wasn't from Coastal Carolina, but he was a later draft pick. But it was Henderson, right? And I feel like he was a player that had he gone to a much higher school, he probably would have been drafted a little bit higher, right? But Laube feels almost exactly that way. Like Laube is a fantastic back that I feel like is getting a little bit slept on, and he's almost a prototypical Sean Payton back. And obviously Jalen Wright is going to get a lot of
D'Angelo Henderson.
Yeah,
D'Angelo Henderson. Yeah. Another one is Jalen Wright. In terms of if you're talking also some fits with Sean Payton, and by the way, Carter, right? Not Jalen Wright, but
there is a Y. Yes,
there's a Y. Yeah. So to Pro Football Focus, if you guys are watching the stream, there's a Y in there. Jalen Wright and Dillon Laube are really two of the guys that I'm kind of watching a little bit as far as some fits for Sean.
Let's just pair J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corn together again.
And take Roman Wilson, and we're done.
Yeah, Carter, I was going to say, Carter, if you ever paid attention to Matty's mock draft that he did like a couple days ago, he literally just drafted the entire Michigan Wolverines squad and just was like,
Where did I reach?
Broncos.
Where did I reach on any of those players?
He's the GM that says, but he's a winner.
That's right.
And you know what? Here's the most important thing. All those guys, people come to their birthday parties, okay?
Oh, okay.
So that's important.
Well, the important thing, though, like, that's worth, mentioning to people is, like, you you scout the player, not the helmet, right? So for Matty, it wasn't necessarily the fact that he had like 5 to 6 or possibly even 7 players from the University of Michigan, but it was just
6 of 12.
6 of 12. Okay, sorry, I was a little bit generous, or
I'll retweet it.
Yeah. But again, I just think that you just scout the player, not the team. Keep that in mind when looking at Ohio State quarterbacks again, aka CJ Stroud. Let's go to the offensive line, and we'll finish with the quarterbacks. But the offensive line, and again, sorry, we're going a little bit long. We'll still do this mock draft a little bit. We're just going a little bit in depth, and again, like I said, it's a deep dive with this NFL Combine that was beginning on Thursday with the defensive line and linebackers. So let's do the offensive linemen. Let's combine them all, right? Because that's kind of like what they do is they do like the guards, the tackles. Let's just combine them all. As far as offensive linemen, this is actually one where to lead it all off, one of the craziest statistics that I have ever heard, and I stayed even almost like framed at this point, has been the Denver Broncos have not drafted a tackle since Garrett Bowles. And let me say that again. They have not drafted a tackle since Garrett Bowles. And again, when I'm saying they have not drafted a tackle, I'm saying they have not drafted a tackle in the first round. They have not drafted a tackle in the second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, or even seventh round. Like, it's just absurd. Dating back to, when they drafted Garrett Bowles, I want to say it was in 2017. That means in the year 2024, the Broncos need to find themselves an offensive tackle in Carter. This is a very, very deep offensive tackle class to do it.
Yeah, they're gonna draft Garrett Bowles' replacement. He's gonna save them $16 million. But yeah, I've loved all the tackles, really. One of my favorite, obviously, if we stay at 12, you're looking at a guy like Fuaga, right? Mountain monster in the run game.
Possibly even Fashanu if he drops.
He had a great game versus Liatu Latu. But he's a right tackle. So does McGlinchey move over, or how does that work? Or do you just let him play left? Another guy, day 2 guy, second rounder, probably Karan Amagaji from Yale. His potential is crazy. He's got a basketball background. He's crazy athletic and has really long arms. Other tackle names I like, Javon Foster, Matt Gonsalves from Pitt, Garrett Greenfield from South Dakota State. I think they have to take a tackle in this class. There's no way they don't, but they're the Broncos, so we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. You have no idea which way they're going to go. What about you, Brandon?
Just to kind of go back to, if we're sticking at 12 and we're not going to take a quarterback, I would be all aboard the draft tackle or even the trade down and draft tackle train. I mean, if somehow Olu Fashanu drops that far, which I would be absolutely shocked, unless there's like a video that comes out of him smoking a bone.
It's happened though.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's happened. I haven't necessarily been following, but it seems like people are, at least at this point, kind of almost like across the board, right, Carter? Like it feels like with Fashanu, like it's kind of ranging a little bit where he's not going to fall like beyond 20, but like it seems like he's kind of stretching a little bit to the, what is it? Maybe almost like 4 to possibly even like 13, if you will, range.
Yeah. It's like Fashanu could go 5, Fashanu could go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like all is going to be the first, I think. Although Mel Kiper had J.C. Latham first. Yeah. So I think Alt's the first. I think Olu's the second. Tennessee for Olu maybe, but I don't know. We'll see.
Guyton also could probably.
Cowboy.
Yeah. He even has the Cowboy name. He's from Oklahoma. He's a Cowboy. Although trade down, like down low in the first, I wouldn't hit it. But yeah, like Fuaga, not on the Mims train in the slightest, but
At least not in first round by any means.
maybe later I would take him, but I don't think he's going to last that long. Christian Jones from Texas is a name to kind of keep an eye on. He's 6'6", 321 pounds, just a good run blocker.
I mean, it's sort of
Foster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and obviously it wouldn't hurt to draft any of the tackles on the best offensive line in all of college football. Meaning the Washington Huskies. So Troy Fatanu, and obviously Colorado ties, which would be Roger Rosengarten. In fact, I feel like Rosengarten would, and this has been a theme in the past in terms of like, either free agency signings or possibly like undrafted free agent signings, is that it seems like the Broncos have really prioritized versatility, and Rosengarten at least has that versatility. It feels like, so you could probably put him either at left or right tackle. So yeah, I'm curious. I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, so it wouldn't hurt. Another position, I don't know if they'll draft him. No, sorry, him.
So let me, as long as we're talking about, are you supposed to talk about tackle?
Oh, go ahead. I was going to go.
Just the only guy I was going to mention is if we do get rid of Garrett Bowles, and this is a trade down guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the first round, or maybe even like a trade up in the second kind of guy. But Jordan Morgan from Arizona.
I think you mentioned his name to me.
Which I know.
What is it, Saturday? Carter? You mentioned his name to me?
Probably mentioned, yeah.
Yeah.
Jordan Morgan would be probably like, if I had to just blindly throw a dart on who I would guess we would probably go after to replace Garrett Bowles, would be Jordan Morgan.
I could not agree more. Yeah, he's left tackle.
He kind of just is Garrett Bowles coming from college. That's just what who he reminds me of. Like, he's not he needs more strength, but he's super athletic. Even for a left tackle, he's super athletic. And he just is the guy. I don't know. You look at him, and I'm just like, if you're going to get rid of Garrett Bowles, and you're going to want a guy that plays like Garrett Bowles, Jordan Morgan is your guy that you're going to slot in to replace him.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So I was going to go and move on a little bit. In the vein of like, I don't know if they'll draft this position, just given like what we've now heard George Payton say, and and then in terms of them possibly even moving on from like Cushenberry and free agency, because it seems like they're kind of dead set on having a competition between. It seems like they're having a competition, if you will, between Luke Wattenberg and I want to say it's Alex Forsyth, right? And Forsyth seems to be like the projected starter, which I don't mind that at all. But because of that, this is nothing against Forsyth. I just, I would be okay, whether that maybe is a free agency signing that they bring as a veteran, into the room. But I would not be upset at all if they decided to draft a versatile player that probably is a guard or a center, preferably center. But center is a position that I feel like is one where they could attack. Do they? I don't know, and it's really hard to say. And one particular one is one that you actually mentioned, Carter, to me. Was it yesterday or a couple days ago? But it was just it was the kid from Oregon,
Jackson Powers Johnson.
Yeah. He does he have any chance to slide into the first?
Slide into the first or slide out of the first?
Or slide out of the first. I guess that's the question.
Well, I didn't think so, but then Mel Kiper did not have him in his first round at all.
It's just a hard one for me because like you don't see centers much like taken in the first. I mean, at least the one that I know of that was the most popular was Cesar Ruiz. Funny enough, who was drafted by Sean Payton in the New Orleans Saints.
Linderbaum too from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a first rounder. I could see him going as early as 16 to Seattle. I could see him going to Jacksonville. I could see him going to Miami to replace Connor Williams. I don't know. Center's tough. As far as second round, though, I mean, Zach Frazier. And then you have Cedric Van Pran, Bartoloni. I think this is another position I would probably take as well. This and tackle. I don't know. They got a lot of holes to fill, and center is definitely one of them if they don't bring Cush back. I am not super confident in Forsyth, but we haven't really seen him. But he's a 7th rounder, so we'll see.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's why, like, and Brandon and I have had this conversation. It's like they're so high on him, it feels like. But even then, like, it seems like the scouting community, when they drafted him, was so high on him. And that's something that Brandon and I had a conversation of. It's like, and so, like, especially when we were breaking it down, it's like, well, when you feel like you almost have a 2nd round grade or a 3rd round grade on a player, when you're taking him in the 7th round, like, that's almost lucking out into the fact that, that's not shooting a dart. That's actually in the rare cases of addressing a need in the 7th round. And that doesn't come around all that often, if you will. So, but even for Luke Wattenberg, the thing that I also have to keep in mind is, if I'm not mistaken, we traded up to get Wattenberg. Peyton, I think Peyton traded up for Wattenberg or something, and drafted, but he's also got versatility. I think he played the guard spot. He played the center spot. So Wattenberg, I think, at least has some versatility, and we all know that at least from the guard perspective, I don't want to spend too much on the guards either, because, like, that's not necessarily a position for starters, right? That I don't see the Broncos going for. And besides, I feel like it's either going to come from the draft or they're going to sign a nice, vet or something in free agency for depth.
I don't see him taking a guard at all. You got money on one side, and you're about to have a lot of money on the other side.
Right. All right. Let's finish this off. You're all black, Brandon. You're all blacked out. I'm kidding.
Oh,
You're good now. You're good now.
Hello. Okay, they're back to internet problems. I don't even know what I was saying. Go ahead.
No, we were talking the interior. We're talking the interior, so guard and center. And
yeah, no. If you have, I mean, obviously you have a lot of money on the right side of the line in general, but I feel like you could maybe go after or spend a bit more if you got, again, let's say you get rid of Garrett Bowles and you take Jordan Morgan. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe bring in free agent center for some competition. Or even maybe look to keep Cush, which we'll see what his demand on the market is, which I feel like it's going to be probably pretty high, but you never know.
Yeah, I think you have a guy like Connor Williams, and I think it was Zach Seegers mentioned the other night, Will Clapp from the Chargers, who I'm pretty sure he said Sean Payton drafted. So we could see that be a reunion too.
Is he a free agent or is he a possible cut?
I think he's a possible cut. He might be a free agent. I don't know.
All right, so let's move into the most important position in sports. And actually, that's not what I said. That's what George Payton said. The quarterback position, finally. Who has the chance to be the first quarterback off the board, and why is his name Sam Hartman? If we're basing it off of looks, sorry.
Yeah, sure. This is easy. Caleb's going 1, and the only quarterback the Broncos should take is JJ. That's all I gotta say. Simple as that.
In general, or that we would have an option to take?
No, I
have the option to taking. I think the top 3 are gone for sure.
Top 3 are gone.
And I don't.
So, what do you think about the
takes?
What do you think about the weirdly timed Drake May
agenda?
hate?
Yeah. It's weird. It's really weird. I don't get it. I think he's the second best quarterback, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there was that, what was it, Will Levis, like the day before, the week leading up to the draft, this guy's going to go 3 overall. And then he's in the second round.
Yeah.
And
I
now we
don't
got
remember
Drake.
that.
And then now we got Drake May. I mean, he's definitely not getting, I think New England will take him, and he's definitely not getting past the Falcons.
That's just it. There was a rumor that, or not a rumor. There was a report that came out today that Bill Belichick loved Jaden Daniels, and if he actually had stayed with the Patriots, it's probably more than likely that he was gonna end up being the pick at 3. I don't know if that's gonna happen. It could end up being the Commanders taking him, meaning Daniels at 2. Daniels is an interesting one because I feel like he almost falls into the Anthony Richardson conversation from last year in the sense of like you're talking about traits, like that famous word that you always say so often with the draft prospect that's a quarterback. You fall in love with the traits, I feel like, and if you're going to be using something like that, and we know that New England, I feel like New England would probably fall in love with a guy like a Jaden Daniels just based on the past, right? Like just based on the past because of the traits and everything that they've done in the past with Cam Newton, and and it's maybe one of the reasons why maybe Justin Fields is maybe a slight a slight conversation with the New England Patriots because of the fact of what they've had in the past. But I mean, I don't know.
What Gerard Mayo thinks.
Yeah, that's the point. It's like we'll kind of see.
So weird. You talk about Belichick, and if he was still with the Patriots, that's like just such a weird sentence to hear.
Right. It still feels
not
weird,
used to
almost to the sense of like Sean Payton or Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton. It still feels.
I mean, that feels weird, but I just figured like Bill Belichick was going to be a Patriot until he was in the ground. But
so Brandon,
that's not the case.
So Brandon Carter,
well, Jaden Daniels, I don't know. With what I've seen, I somehow think that he's going to end up going second.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be, to be honest, but I think he will. Obviously, it's Caleb Williams, and like he can not throw the combine. He can not throw at his pro day. He can not do a single workout, and they're going to take him number 1.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, as we move forward a little bit with these other quarterbacks, it's just that it feels like, and maybe this is a shot in the dark, me calling my shot right now at pick 12. But if you were to ask me, as far as who the Broncos are going to be taking at pick 12, the trend right now, and it's been happening for a month, maybe less than a month, right now, but it's a lot of steam right now. But it seems like the 2 quarterbacks that the Broncos can possibly take at 12, or possibly their number 1 consideration for that 12th pick, is going to end up being Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy. Like it seems like it's going to be those 2. I really don't mind both, but I think that the thing that really gets me with JJ, and I actually tweeted it today. Shout out to Amir Farrell for sharing the highlight from Broncos Ave. He shared it on there, but I think that one of the things that has really stood out to me in terms of JJ, I'm not saying he's Andrew Luck, but I think that the fact that he played with Jim Harbaugh for 3 straight seasons, started 3 straight seasons, got better in those 3 straight seasons. Look, I mean, we can say what we want in the sense of like Jim Harbaugh saying he's the best quarterback the Michigan has ever had. I mean, that you would expect that, but even by that same token, like McCarthy is a quarterback he was gifted the opportunity to run the offense that Michigan wanted to run. And you and I've had a conversation multiple times, Brandon, but it's like he was gifted the opportunity to run that offense. But when you asked him to make the play, you don't win a national championship by just simply running an offense, right? Like you have to still step up and you still have to make those plays. I mean, yeah, they didn't win the Super Bowl, but it's one of the reasons why they got to the Super Bowl was because of how Brock Purdy played. Like he played within the system, sure, but it was also his legs in that Detroit Lions game that got him to the Super Bowl, like making those extra plays with his legs, extending plays, hitting players in stride. Like, I mean, like those are the types of things. I'm not comparing McCarthy to Purdy in any way, but like I think that McCarthy's is one of those players that frankly could be kind of close to a Daniels in a way, where if we're talking traits, he's got a lot of potential to be one of the better quarterback prospects out of this. Go ahead, Carl.
Go for it.
I think JJ McCarthy, I still don't know what to feel about him. Like, I think he's good. I think he has unnecessary hate directed at him for being on a team that's too good. I mean, I'm not saying that he had no impact on that team at all and that they carried him, but we talked about this last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't know exactly, but basically the amount of he basically led FBS in passing attempts in the first half, and then there were so many games where he literally didn't even play in the fourth quarter because they were up by 21 or more points. He has enough good throws on tape where it's like, that's an insane throw. How did he make that? He has a lot of like throws where he kind of looks like a Sean Payton guy because of his just ability to throw with anticipation and not have any janky mechanics, where like you talk a lot about like the traitsy guys and the toolsy guys that don't really, they have like the physical stuff, but usually they'll be the ones also that like have a like throw from a weird base, or they throw off platform, or they're always throwing off their back foot and stuff like that, which was the whole Drew Lock experience, basically. But JJ is kind of like almost the opposite of that, in that he still does have, like, he still has a really strong arm, but he's not the guy that's like, oh, he can make this Patrick Mahomes throw. He's the guy that's like, he can make almost any throw that you ask him to make, whether it's like a back shoulder, whether it's like a timing route, whatever it is, he can do it correctly. And that just seems like something like, and we even heard Sean Payton say this himself multiple times, like that's what he values in a quarterback. And we're interviewing him at the combine. I think we're interviewing
formal meeting,
almost anyone formal meeting that is going to be even remotely available. So JJ, Penix, Bo Nix, Pratt, someone else, I think. Like we're going all out in meeting.
Did they schedule one with Rattler?
I have not.
I didn't see his name mentioned specifically yet.
Yeah.
I think the range of quarterbacks that they're going to meet from is basically from not Caleb Williams, but they're going to meet from like JJ McCarthy all the way down to Pratt, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, JJ to Penix to Nix and then Pratt, I think was what
those are the four specific names that I saw mentioned. Yeah.
But what we don't know is was McCarthy the first meeting? Not saying that was a big deal, but obviously we know that, meeting with a guy first could tip the hand as far as maybe who was maybe their number one quarterback. But
I think the McCarthy and Penix meetings happened on the same day. I don't know which one happened first.
McCarthy was the night that the quarterbacks got there. I know that.
Okay.
So they definitely didn't wait. So why do you like McCarthy?
But, I mean, McCarthy's definitely the guy that he's been tied to us the most, and there's a reason. But go ahead, Carter.
Yeah. So why do you like McCarthy, Carter?
I think it's the simple. I mean, you're in a division that has Mahomes and a division that has Herbert. You're not gonna win anything with a guy like Michael Pratt. Nothing against Michael Pratt, but he's just not going to compete with Mahomes. You got to get a first-round guy. If they're not taking McCarthy, I'm taking a tackle, or I'm trading back, and I'm loading up for Shador next year. But I think McCarthy's the simple answer. He's going to come in and start day one, but I think you're going to have to jump Minnesota to get him. It makes too much sense to bring Kirk back for 1 year and have McCarthy sit under Kirk, and McCarthy's that successor.
Yeah.
You want to take Brock Bowers for Shador?
No, I'm not a big fan of Bowers at 12. You'd have to talk me into it. I mean, I wouldn't be against it, but
careful, Joey Will.
Yeah, I was gonna
Joey can try.
I mean, it's probably less.
Send in that recording, Cam.
I was gonna say,
Send in that clip.
Joey's probably spent so much time trying to convince Carter the Broncos should draft him at 12. That at this point, if he's not convinced that the Broncos should draft Bowers at 12, I'm sure Carter's in the clear at this point. So
Here's the thing: I do think we'd have to trade up for him, but if we're going to trade up for a quarterback, and the Drake May hate continues, I'd rather trade up for Drake May.
See, but the thing is I think you gotta
But
go to 3 to get May. I think.
Do you? That's why I said if it continues, because if he gets past,
If it continues, yeah.
I don't think it will. I think it's a bunch of smoke screens. But
I agree.
If I'm going to trade up for a guy and he has any possible option of falling, I would want him. But you're right about Minnesota and JJ.
Yeah, I don't think you don't have to go that far for JJ either. I think you could go to 9 and get JJ, and Chicago moves back a couple spots and still gets a receiver for Caleb.
Yeah. Well, and even then, it's one where I kind of go back to. I mean, you talked a little bit about his mechanics, Brandon, but it's like this is something we talked about last week. But JJ McCarthy may actually have the best mechanics of any quarterback in this class. Like, as far as like what he's got, he may have the best mechanics, and that is one of the things that is so easy to work with for a quarterback coach, and especially too. I think the other conversation, one of the reasons why the Broncos should be taking a young quarterback is, of course, let's not forget about the staff that they hired last year. Like, I think a lot of people felt like once they even hired Davis Webb, once they hired Davis Webb, I feel like was kind of a nice little trigger for people that was like, you know what? It seems like the Broncos are kind of gearing for this idea that they want a young quarterback on their team. And so I hate to say it, Carter, but the door is shut if in 2025. And
you're in denial. You're in denial.
And the Broncos are going to take JJ McCarthy at pick 12. So I hate to say it.
Yeah. As much as I'd love Shador, it's too hard. He's going to be the number 1 overall pick. So we'd have to lose.
We can't even draft Travis Hunter either, because he'll probably go
keep roasting.
All right. You guys ready?
Do this mock.
Let's do this mock. Let's do this mock. All right. So obviously these are like the current settings with what we've had. Do you guys want to boost the position value a little bit more? Do you guys want to?
I think position value a little higher.
Tell me when.
Oh, like 50%.
So like
I don't know. What do you think, Brandon? You're muted.
What do you?
I'm trying to find a way to see this better on my phone.
Oh,
hold up.
See, if you were actually using your computer,
I tried and didn't work well. All right, here we go. All right. That looks good to me.
What about draft for needs? We good where that is at?
I think that's good.
Randomness, more randomness, less. Obviously, don't trigger it, to the very top, because as I found out, if you trigger everything else to the top, you're going to draft Marvin Harrison at 12.
Yeah, no, I'd say either leave it where it is or bump it down 1.
Okay.
I feel like you got to have some randomness though, because you never know what's going to happen.
So probably worth keeping it as is then.
Yeah, that's fine with me. That's perfect. Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm going to forewarn you guys, to anybody that's in the chat and that's been watching this, is that the last couple times that I've actually done these, Jaden Daniels has been available at pick 12. I'm just throwing it out there. So don't blame me. Blame the simulation. All right, here we go.
I'm blaming you for picking the worst simulation.
All right, here we go. Now, before I will say this. I will say this before we actually start this. Do you guys actually want to do any trades before, and like trade players, trade, and we should probably operate in the vein of maybe what we think they'll do on this one, like what they think they'll do. So if we're going to be trading a player and we're going to possibly be trading for capital, Who is the guy that we feel like we should move on from and try and get capital?
I mean, I think the most likely traded is Judy, but I'm also down to do no trades for this one because we're using the worst website possible. Thanks to Cam.
I just like the simple fact you could actually trade players, so that's kind of like why I'm.
Then let's do it. Let's trade Judy. Are we all good with that?
I'm fine with that. Okay, so what's crazy? Let's see if this works. Where do we feel like we want to trade him to? We thinking. What is it? Maybe Buffalo? Maybe.
Indy, maybe. Carolina.
They just don't. They just don't really.
For Jerry, if he went to Carolina.
Oh. So basically, just a swap for basically, what is that?
Hold on. As long as we're talking about this, so do you guys remember when there was that rumor that someone offered what was the second round pick?
Yeah,
3 and a 5.
For the 3 and a 5. Who do you think that was? I guess it's mostly a question for Carter because I think Cam and I have had this discussion.
Kansas City, Miami.
Well, I mean, the one we do know is that Baltimore was really close to acquiring Sutton.
Yeah, I don't think I ever heard them anywhere near Judy, though.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Who do you think, Brandon?
I think it was Carolina. I personally think it was Carolina. I don't know why.
Why would they do that?
Because David Tepper's an idiot. No, I think it's just because they were trying to get something for Bryce Young, some kind of weapon. I mean,
kind of reunite a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm still bummed they didn't take that offer. Honestly.
Well, speaking of offers,
I probably would have taken it if I'm.
I would have.
Let's just say, speaking of offers, right now this trade is going to be accepted at the second round pick of pick 65 for just Jerry Jeudy.
That would be.
I think that's it's pretty rich, but blame the poor website.
Yeah, not me. Thank you. Yeah, not me.
You picked it though.
I think 102 is more fair, but
yeah,
I'm down to do 65.
I mean, I'm not gonna.
I mean,
mad at it, but
they're
I
gonna
think the more realistic one would be 102.
I would agree.
They're going to accept 65. So
it's Tepper. They're giving us 65.
Right, exactly. There's our reason. It's Tepper.
Tepper's an idiot, man.
So this is accepted. We have pick 65 for Jerry Jeudy. Is there any other trades that you guys wanted to work through?
That's insane. Do we want to trade up for quarterback? You want to trade? You want to trade?
Let's see where the board is at 6, and then we'll decide the quarterback.
I don't think you can really pause it, can you? Because it was.
Oh, you put that thing at light speed, huh? You can change it to slow just for like the first 10 picks.
Yeah, slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
All right, let's start the draft.
Okay.
Wow, Neighbors wide receiver 1. Is that what I just saw?
And Daniel's still available.
I don't hate it.
Marvin Harrison fell to 4.
And I mean, look at this. Look. This is the most PFF thing ever. He is not going 6. There is no world he goes 6.
Cooper DeJean.
I'm down to keep letting it roll. What do you guys think?
I'm good to let it roll. Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
Uh-oh.
Okay. I think this is easy. What do you guys think?
I think it's pretty simple.
I think this is drunk.
Yeah, this is the most unrealistic thing that could ever happen, but take him. Or do we just take JJ just for the realism factor?
Do we? Because the point is we were going to try and go with the route of what we think is going to happen, right?
You didn't book randomness up high enough. I mean, if
Is
we're,
that-
if we think is going to happen, we're taking JJ. But this is
I would agree.
a horrible simulator.
Exactly.
All right.
Take JJ. Realistic.
All right. We'll take JJ.
Now you can bump the speed up.
We'll go turbo.
Oh God. Olu fell to what, 16?
This can't be turbo. What?
All right.
What is going on? This website, it gets worse
Lad
every
McConkey.
time I use it.
I wanted him.
Brian
Oh,
Thomas was to the
that guy.
49ers. What a fit.
Oh, did you do all 7 rounds?
Mm-hmm. Panics went to the Giants.
Adonai Mitchell.
Tell me I did not just see Jaden Daniels fall to.
This second round.
This is a drunk.
Hey, there goes my tackle.
Jalen Polk, 56. That's a steal.
Fisk to the Lions.
Fisk.
Okay.
Oh, Xavier Worthy.
Ooh.
Christian Haynes, Junior Colson,
Just go all Michigan. Paul Matty.
Tez Walker. So what's the position that we should go off of here? Like, so we've already got the quarterback. Do we feel like maybe the tackle is probably maybe the way to go? Do we want to go? I'm guessing in this particular scenario is that we're probably are going to have Garrett Bowles as our tackle. So
Here's the thing, though. We also just traded Jerry Jeudy. And Xavier Worthy, he's right there.
He is right there. What other receivers
let me see
are available?
yeah.
And tackles.
And I want to see that edge. Oh my God. All right, let's see tackles.
Yeah, pull up tackles.
all right, we'll go with tackles. Blake Fisher, Patrick Paul, Dominic Puny, Christian Jones. I'm feeling wide receiver. Now
I'm not loving any of those.
Hold up. Go to I just want to see. Okay. Go to edge. I'm just curious.
Austin Booker,
Okay.
Gabriel
Yeah,
Murphy.
No, get me away from this. Go away. I'm out. I'm all the way out on that.
So I'm thinking Xavier Worthy
I'm
then.
taking
Right?
Xavier Worthy here. I'm running.
Yeah.
You good with that, Carter? Yeah.
I'm solid, yeah.
All right. JJ and Xavier Worthy.
Could have been Jaden Daniels.
So beginning of round 3. I feel like that's appropriate, actually.
Malachi Corley. Michael Pratt to the Lions.
Now, what are we feeling?
I think in Arroyo or Nealand, Marshawn Nealand would be my unless he went. I might have
There
missed
is
it.
Jalen Wright, which they decided to actually spell him right on this one, by the way.
They do. I don't want a running back, not this high.
I
No.
know. It's just but it's also like what we think they're gonna do though, right?
They ain't doing it.
You think
What other tackles are? Show me the tackles.
I'm guessing the tackles
Patrick Paul.
It's going to be Patrick Paul and No.
I'm waiting on tackle.
No.
I'm curious about tight end maybe.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Roro.
Roro.
You're doing a Roro?
Yeah.
What about corner?
Roro.
No.
All right. Rook or Roro?
You guys good with that?
I'm good with
I'm
that.
fine with that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. So our next pick is going to be 114. So prepare to pick tomorrow with his
center.
there was Devondre Sweat.
Michael Hall.
There's Bucky Irving.
Tackle. Hey, there's that edge / linebacker that we interviewed.
Oh yeah, what was his name?
Marist Liafu or something like that from Notre Dame. Right there. Commanders 104, 103.
Yeah. All right. You were thinking tackle?
Let's scroll down more. Like, show me the 7th guy of the tackles.
No, you're on all players.
Let's see.
Yeah, keep going.
Javon Foster.
Yeah, I'm good waiting.
You worth that risk?
I mean, you said we're keeping Bulls, so we can wait another year.
We can wait another year. I just say it because like we obviously didn't make the change and move on from Bulls. Maybe corner. What do they got for corner? No. Tight end, maybe.
You want to take kids over here?
I'm not against against Kamara here either.
There's also the chiseled freak of Braylon Allen.
I just can't do running back.
I'm not throwing a dart at running back until like round 6.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe try and go to edge here?
I wouldn't mind Muhammad Kamara. He's a stud.
So kind of almost like doubling up, if you will, with some defense.
But then again, we also have 4 guaranteed edge spots already locked into the roster. So
we also have pick 122. So any guy we could probably select might be available at 122.
You guys want to go tight end then?
I'm good doing tight end.
You want to go with Cade Stover? I'm fine with that.
Because I do think that tight end is a possibility for them drafting a lot higher than possibly expected.
Yeah.
Ooh, you got a center right there.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
You know, I'm okay with taking Bo.
I agree completely.
Bo Limmer?
Yep.
Go for it. That's a nice center battle right there.
And so now we'll move over to 146. Obviously, no more trades. You kind of feeling maybe more corner on this one?
Yeah. Ooh, Cha Smith-Wade. I'd have liked him.
We'll see who's there.
Josh Newton just left.
Yeah. Let's see what the corners are looking like.
There's also linebacker as well. So Nehemiah Pritchett, McLaughlin, Aiden. The thing that's risky is we don't pick until 240 or 230. So if you're going to maybe reach on a corner or a corner that you feel is not going to be there, now would be the pick.
I don't love any of those guys.
Yeah. I also too wonder like if they'll even take a corner given maybe what we've heard about Riley Moss too.
I know they're really high on Moss, which they better be because they traded a third for him.
So maybe let's try a linebacker maybe.
I don't mind any of those guys really. Curtis Jacobs, Cedric Gray, the one from Michigan too.
Was it Barrett?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick. Brandon, what are you thinking?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't hit a linebacker here, mostly because of the.
Hey, there's my running back.
There's your running back
decision to move.
And we could have taken
Holker.
if we waited.
Oh, God.
Joe Milton falling all the way down to the basement.
There is Dillon Malby.
Or Javon Foster. That's the pick right there.
That's the pick.
Yeah.
I would go for it.
Especially
welcome to Denver.
So now we won't pay. We lucked out on that one. Him kind of waiting that long. So I feel like now we'll just kind of throw darts. So here's a question, for you, Carter. This is something we posed on the stream before. Could you see a scenario where the Broncos draft 2?
Draft 2 what?
QBs.
2 QBs? Ooh.
Like the scenario that I'm saying
they're going to do the Kirk Cousins and RG3.
Like the scenario I was kind of thinking is like, what if you draft JJ at 12, but then you maybe take a flyer redshirt risk and you take like a Jordan Travis?
See, I think lack of draft capital. You got to hit at pretty much all these picks if you want to contend this year, which is going to be super hard, obviously, right? 2, with JJ is so young. That would mean like JJ's replacement's already there, picking him at 12, I guess I could see it if you're taking like a Penix and then someone else, or a Nix and then someone else, but with JJ, I don't see any reason to. I don't know that I see any reason to with Penix or Nix either, especially with the lack of draft capital.
Oh, Trey Taylor from Air Force, available at 230. Yeah, that's kind of tempting.
What else do we have on the board? Let's check the board.
So as far as the best players available, there's Curtis Jacobs. Tanner McLaughlin from Arizona. Darius Muwasa from UCLA. There's Rasheen Ali. A Biggie Bronco mentioned him earlier.
Trevin Wallace, that is an interview candidate. The Broncos interviewed him.
Oh, yeah.
We can actually
pull him on my list.
We can pull up his stats.
I watched some of his stuff. He wraps up well. Nothing too exciting. He's a linebacker.
Yeah, nothing too overly exciting.
I'm cool with whatever you guys want. I would say linebacker probably my.
Show me
the go to all the linebackers.
Honestly, it's probably linebacker or the Air Force safety Trey Taylor.
I'd be fine with any of those top 3 linebackers.
Curtis Jacobs. So what was his size? Like 238? You guys go with maybe like a Curtis Jacobs or Darius Muwasa?
I'm cool with
it. I watched a ton of Muwasa.
I don't know much about Muwasa either. I'd go with Jacobs or Wallace, one of those two.
Yeah, Jacobs or Wallace. If we're talking about where they would throw the dart, it'd probably be Wallace.
If they interviewed him. Yep, he's going to test well too.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna lean maybe to Wallace in the sense that they've met with him.
Yep, let's do it.
All right, so now is pick 237, the players that are available. Keith Randolph Jr. There is Curtis Jacobs.
Double up.
I'm going to double down on linebacker. See, this is where I would throw a dart on a running back.
Yeah, or like
but I didn't really see.
I know I saw Rasheen Ali, the player that Biggie Bronco was mentioning in the chat. There's not a lot of running backs available.
No, there's not a ton. Go back to all players.
We could even maybe do another tackle.
Yeah, go to the tackle.
You can't have too much tackle depth.
No. Especially Delmar Glaze.
Delmar Glaze. Delmar Glaze is
Yeah.
a little bit of has some versatility. I think he played center too, didn't he?
I don't think he gets this far down either.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Barnhart even gets down this far either.
I'd go Glaze.
Yeah, if you want a guy with some versatility, I'd take Delmar Glaze.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
Bang.
All right, now let's see what we were actually great. Did we fail? Did we fail? I actually don't mind the idea of even double dipping on tackle. I really don't, because
It should in this class.
Especially this. Yeah, I was gonna say, especially this class. I really don't hate the idea.
2 tackles. We got a center. We got our QB. Receiver.
They graded JJ McCarthy's a C+. A B. They gave us a B. So certainly not a failing grade. But they gave us.
Oh, PFF grades, man.
But overall,
JJ and Xavier Worthy, that's a nice duo.
Well, even
Great
Aurora.
alignment too.
Yeah, even
Trenches,
Aurora.
baby, trenches.
Yeah, I actually don't hate that at all. So solid. Definitely solid. So that was fun. That was a nice little deep dive, and it was actually one of the first times that we actually have done a 2-hour show. But I'll be honest, I mean, I feel like it was a deep dive show. I feel like for a combine show, it's almost necessary to kind of have a deep dive like that. Maybe not for 2 hours, but it certainly was nice to have a deep conversation about that, talking about the draft class and positions and stuff like that. It was the first time we actually dove into like the draft positions, if you will. So, well, and this is the first time we've kicked off our mock drafts. We'll do another one. This was 1.0 featuring Mr. Carter Dillon of the LTB Let's Talk Broncos podcast. Real quick, Carter, before we send things off, why don't you kind of tell people, where, in essence, like what you do with Let's Talk Broncos, and then possibly maybe where they can tune, especially for you, like in what you do with LTB.
Yeah, so I do the socials for LTB. So everything on Instagram is done by me. And then on game days, obviously not at this time, I ran the Twitter too and handled like our prediction stuff for the scores and that stuff. So yeah, I'm really behind the scenes for them. But and you can check me out on Twitter at CarterDillon14. I tweet frequently. I'm a big Buffs fan, as much as Cam loves it.
That's right.
But yeah,
he also this is maybe the first time I can officially say this on record, Carter, so hopefully I don't hurt any feelings for the rest of the LTB crew, but I hate to say it, but Carter might actually be the best pickup football player that is, of every single person that is on that LTB crew. I don't want to, ruin or hurt anybody else's feelings down there at LTB. I probably should have said it when Joey was on there. So that's my fault. But it's true. I feel like, Carter might actually end up being the better player, the better pickup player, for if we actually were holding a combine, if LTB was actually holding a combine of their own, Carter actually would probably blow everybody out of the water. I'm just saying. Like,
I want to see. I want to see him beat me in the bench press.
But PFF would grade me D-.
Or at least a 65, maybe. Like it would be like a 65.
I'd be a D- pick even in the 7th.
But dude, it was a blast.
They'd grade me an F as a priority free agent.
But dude, it was a blast. Again, you are a superstar. You're a rising star. I know Joey said it earlier. It was awesome having you on, and this won't be the last time we'll have you on. Whenever you're available and you want to talk some ball with us over at Manely, feel free to hop on. I'll send you the link, and you can hop on at any point. But it was a blast, bro.
Perfect. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Unscheduled Brock Bowers.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. Hate. Yeah.
It'll be over soon.
A Brock Bowers hate podcast. Yeah. For Brandon, myself, and of course Carter, again, I want to say thank you guys for hopping on the Manely Broncos podcast. Follow the Twitter handle at Manely Broncos, and follow Brandon on Twitter at Brandon Miller PO, myself at Cameron Parker PO, and as Carter said, at Carter Dillon 14. It was a blast, and we'll catch you guys next week on Wednesday for another episode of the Manely Broncos podcast.
when I pass in the street. Bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.